Welcome back everyone to Behind the Arc Basketball. In this video, I'm going to reveal my NBA first round mock draft for picks number 15 through 30. If you haven't already done so, check out my first part to this video with picks number 1 through 14 for the NBA draft lottery. The first part of my NBA mock draft lottery is posted down in the description below this video. But before we get into my NBA mock draft for 15 through 30, make sure to check out my NBA draft live stream. It will happen on Thursday night, July 29th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And I'll be streaming my live reactions on draft night and giving updates on the NBA draft board as we are less than 1 week away from the 2021 NBA draft. Also, make sure to check out my play-by-play live streams as well of me commentating basketball games throughout the season. I would highly recommend to check out my play-by-play live streams if you haven't already done so. But without any further ado, let's pick up where we left off with my first round NBA mock draft for the 2021 draft, as we'll pick up here at pick number 15 on the draft board, and we'll go all the way through number 30. At number 15, the Washington Wizards on the board, and I have them selecting Isaiah Jackson, power forward from Kentucky. Jackson's a 6'11" power forward. He is athletic, he plays with physicality, and he was tremendous defensively for Big Blue Nation during his freshman season for the Wildcats. Jackson's an excellent shot blocker, terrific rebounder, he's a rim protector, and he also has great reaction time and excellent coordination. He led the SEC averaging 2.6 blocks per game. He averaged over 8 points per game and over 6 rebounds per game, and just over an average of 20 minutes per game. He did not attempt more than 10 shots per game, but he did show promise late in the season, developing as a scorer. Jackson averaged over 13 points per game during his final 7 games for Kentucky. His main improvement area, though, was that he was foul prone during his freshman season. He fouled out in 6 games. And where Washington could happen to look for Isaiah Jackson is where the Wizards happen to surrender the most points per game to opponents this past season. And they can certainly use one of the top defensive prospects in this draft with Isaiah Jackson, be able to develop him and have Jackson help out the front court in the future in Washington. And that's where I got Isaiah Jackson going at number 15 to the Wizards. Now back on the draft board again at number 16. Is the Oklahoma City Thunder, and that's where I predict they will take Jalen Johnson, small forward from Duke. Johnson is physical, and he is also versatile as well. He played 13 games for the Blue Devils before announcing that he would leave the program in mid-February. When he was at Duke, however, Jalen Johnson was efficient from the floor. He connected on over 52% of his shots, and he averaged over 11 points per game and over 6 rebounds per game. He offers a ton of versatility. He can defend multiple positions in the court. Johnson is athletic. He can handle the basketball as well, and is also a solid playmaker. With a massive amount of first-round draft picks and future draft picks as well that Oklahoma City has, I feel like the Thunder here, they can take a chance at a player like Jalen Johnson on the board who happened to have his season cut short at Duke. I've got the Thunder going with Jalen Johnson here at number 16. Now at number 17 on the draft board, I've got the Memphis Grizzlies taking Ziaire Williams, shooting guard from Stanford. Williams played in 20 games this past season for the Cardinal. He was back and forth with his production. He does have tremendous size, though, as a wing at 6'8". He did struggle offensively, though, during his first season at Stanford. He averaged over 10 points per game, made just over 37% of his shots from the floor, and shot the ball at only 29% from three-point range. Though Ziaire Williams shows a ton of potential, and he can create his own shot. He's also got a smooth jump shot form, and where he has upside is his ability to create space in the court. He can make shots off the dribble, and he can also make shots in catch-and-shoot situations. Memphis has 2 shooting guards on their roster with 3-point specialists Grayson Allen and Desmond Bane, and these 2 players here are 3-point specialists, and this is where Williams can add in a different type of shooting to Memphis's roster, that he can add in shot making to the Grizzlies. And Memphis is also, they've made improvements tremendously record-wise during the last 4 seasons. So where the Grizzlies here, they have the opportunity to be able to take a chance in the prospect like Ziaire Williams to see how he pans out in the future. I predict that's where I am going Williams to go to number 17 to Memphis. At number 18 on the draft board, once again, happens to be the Oklahoma City Thunder, and that's where I predict they will take Jared Butler, point guard and shooting guard from the Baylor Bears. Butler was named Most Outstanding Player of the 2021 NCAA Tournament. He showed up in the biggest moment in the national championship game with a team-high 22 points, 7 assists, and 0 turnovers for Baylor. He was named the first-team All-American, was a floor leader for Baylor's national championship run. And Butler happened to average just under 17 points per game this past season, just under 5 assists per game, and racked up about 2 steals per game while shooting the ball over 41% from three-point range for the Bears. He offers versatility on the court. He can handle the ball. He's a playmaker. He's got excellent vision, and he can also play off the ball and is a great catch-and-shoot perimeter specialist as well. He's got great hands. He can generate turnovers, as Butler will be able to add bench scoring, sharp shooting, and playmaking, and as well with his scrappy defense to the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Thunder need more ball handlers, I feel like, on the court for them, and they also need sharp shooters in the lineup to add to their offense. And with a potential future leader here with Jared Butler, I predict the Thunder to take Jared Butler at number 18. Now at number 19, as we'll stay in the backcourt, the New York Knicks in the draft board, and that's where I predict the Knicks to take Tre Mann, point guard from Florida, at number 19. Mann improved his draft stock tremendously this past season. As a sophomore, his benefit came back from going back to the Gators for a second season, and it happened to catapult Mann here into the first-round draft prediction. During his sophomore season, Mann averaged 16 points per game, 5.6 rebounds per game, and 3.5 assists per game. He shot the ball at over 40% from 3, 83% at the free throw line, and he rose to the occasion second half of the season where he averaged over 21 points per game, shot the ball at 56% from the floor during his final 6 games of the season. Tre Mann has terrific footwork. He creates space. He can knock down shots with his terrific step-back jumper. He is smooth at handling the basketball as well. He's got a good shooting touch from all over the court, and he can shoot with deep range. His biggest area of improvement, though, happens to be his defense, but Tre Mann, he can get his own shot, and he can help out improve the Knicks with their bench scoring. Derrick Rose, Alfred Payton, and Frank Kelly-Lena, they are all free agents this offseason at the point guard position. And this is where New York, I feel like, is going to address their need for the point guard of the future with Tre Mann to be a part here of New York. And that's where I predict the Knicks taking Mann at number 19. Now on the draft board at number 20 happens to be the Atlanta Hawks. And that's where I predict the Hawks to take Kai Jones, power forward from Texas. Jones is athletic. He's 6'11", and he can move really well up and down the court for a big. He's athletic, explosive, terrific footwork. He grew up in the Bahamas. He was a track and field athlete growing up. But Jones didn't start playing organized basketball around the age of 15. With his track and field background, Jones can get up the floor really quick, an energy type of player on the court. He can crash the glass, come up with offensive rebounds, and block shots as well. He showed a ton of offensive promise this past season. He shot the ball at over 38% from three-point range, which isn't bad for his size at 6'11". Though he can improve. One of his main improvements happens to be his foul trouble. He doesn't also have much on-court experience during his 2 seasons of college basketball at Texas. He averaged under 20 minutes per game during his 2 seasons combined at Texas, while averaging 6.2 points per game and 4 rebounds per game throughout his Longhorn career. However, though, Kai Jones has got some serious upside in the league, and the Hawks here, they still are waiting a big decision to make surrounding this offseason with John Collins and free agency. Picking up Jones would help to build more of a defensive type of front court, which was one of the big differences when it came down to the Eastern Conference Finals, when Atlanta happened to be a minus 98 in points in the paint, defending the Bucks inside. And that's where I predict at number 20 the Atlanta Hawks to take Kai Jones. Now at 21 on the draft board happens to be the Knicks again, and that's where I predict they will go for a scorer. Cam Thomas, shooting guard from LSU, a walking bucket during his freshman season for the Tigers, and he shoots the ball at a high-volume clip. He's one of the top scorers in the draft. Thomas averaged 23 points per game during his freshman season. He scored 20-plus points in 22 of his 29 games, and he also compares himself to NBA stars such as Bradley Beal, James Harden, and Devin Booker for Cam Thomas. One of the big keys why Thomas put up offensive numbers like this at LSU was because of his ability to draw fouls and go to the free throw line. Thomas led college basketball in free throw makes, making 176 shots out of 200 shot attempts at the charity stripe at 88%. He's also a terrific shot creator. He's got excellent shooting range, and he can score in bunches. Thomas will have to improve, though, as a playmaker and also a defender of the league. The Knicks were the top defense in the regular season, surrendering under 105 points per game to their opponents. However, New York has a ton to address offensively, as they were 26th in scoring and finished last among all 16 playoff teams, averaging just 97 points per game in their 5 playoff games for the 2021 playoffs. Getting Cam Thomas here, this is a no-brainer for New York, for a squad that needs a ton more offensive firepower. I've got Thomas going 21 to New York. Now at 22 on the draft board, the LA Lakers on the board, and that's where I predict they will take Chris Duarte, shooting guard from the Oregon Ducks. Duarte grew up in the Dominican Republic. He played his first 2 seasons of college basketball at the junior college level for Northwest Florida State. During his 2 seasons of junior college ball, he excelled. He was recognized as the Junior College Player of the Year in 2019. And then after his 2 seasons for junior college, that's where Duarte transferred over to Oregon, and he played 2 seasons for head coach Dana Altman. He was stellar this past season, as Duarte guided Oregon to a Sweet 16 appearance in the tournament. He also received the Jerry West Award for the nation's top shooting guard. Duarte happens to be one of the top shooters in this draft, as he led the Pac-12 conference in three-point shooting, averaging 42% from three-point range with a minimum of 5 threes attempted per game. He has terrific footwork, he can create space, is excellent at knocking down pull-up jumpers, and he can play make as well for a shooting guard. His inside efficiency, that was a key. He shot the ball at 63% for his 2-point shot makes during his senior season. He has great body control, and he can finish at the rim as well. Duarte's a lockdown defender. He does all the little things to help out his team. He happens to be one of the oldest players in the draft at the age of 24, as Duarte improved every single season during his collegiate career, and he has shown that he is NBA ready. And this is where I feel like he will be a tremendous fit for the Lakers, as the Lakers, once again, next season will be up there, one of the top teams contending once again for the title. And that's where LA needs a ton more shooting from players off their bench. And that's where I feel like Duarte can come in and help out LA and be able to provide a nice spark off the bench for the Lakers. I've got him going to LA at number 22. Now at 23, the Houston Rockets, back-to-back picks in the draft board, 23 and 24. At 23, that's where I predict they will go for a defensive type of player here with Usman Garuba, power forward from Spain. Garuba, 6'8" power forward. He played this past season for the Real Madrid basketball team out of the Liga ACB in the Spanish Basketball League of Spain. He also played for the EuroLeague as well, where he played 74 games during the 2020-21 season. It was named the EuroLeague Rising Star for best player in the EuroLeague under the age of 22. He's an undersized big man. He can hang in there, though, and defend at a high level. Garuba's viewed as one of the top defenders in the draft with a 7'3" wingspan. He also has a motor that plays with intensity, is also an excellent shot blocker, and he can alter shots a ton. Offensively, Garuba is limited. He only averaged around 4 points per game and over 16 minutes per game of court time throughout his Real Madrid career. He didn't connect well from three-point range either, shooting the ball at 27.5%, and is only 60% at the free throw line, though the Rockets, they were ranked in the very bottom of the NBA when it came to total defense this past season. And that's where I feel like they can take a chance on a player with high upside, especially defensively, with Garuba. And that's where I predict the Rockets to take Usman Garuba at number 23. Staying with Houston on the draft board at number 24. And that's where I predict the Rockets to take a point guard with Sharife Cooper, point guard from Auburn. Even though he missed the first month plus of the season, Cooper he had a terrific season at Auburn. He instantly came in and changed the Tigers during the first part of the season. Cooper played 12 games. He ran the point for one of the youngest teams in the nation at Auburn. And during his first 6 games, Cooper went 4-2 with the Tigers, and 2 of his losses were a combined 6 total points against 2 NCAA tournament deep-running teams with Alabama and Arkansas. Cooper averaged over 20 points per game and over 8 assists per game as well. He's a 6'1" point guard. He is quick on the court, has tremendous vision, great playmaker, and excellent at drawing fouls. He can be useful when leading the pick and roll offense, and also he has a mid-range floater to his game as well. He did struggle though from 3-point range. He shot the ball only 23% from the outside, and he was turnover prone throughout the season, but he carried the load of the offense for Auburn, and I feel like here Houston could take a chance on another type of player here and develop Sharife Cooper for the future. That's where I get the Rockets taking Cooper at number 24. Now on the draft board at number 25, the LA Clippers, and that's where I predict LA to take Dosunmu, another point guard off the board from the Illinois Fighting Illini at 25. Dosunmu was named first-team All-American. He had a stellar season this past season at Illinois. He's a Swiss Army knife type of player. He can do everything on the court, and he excelled at being one of the top collegiate players this past season. Dosunmu improved his draft stock. As a junior, he led Illinois to their first-ever NCAA tournament appearance since 2013. He improved in multiple areas throughout the season as well, as he averaged season highs with over 20 points per game, over 6 rebounds per game, over 5 assists per game, and his biggest area of improvement happened to be his 3-point shot from the perimeter, where he shot the ball 39%. That is up from 29.6% from the perimeter during his sophomore season. Dosunmu is a great driver to the basket. He can facilitate to his teammates as well. He attempted an average of over 12 2-point shots per game this past season at Illinois. The Clippers are in need of more ball handlers in their roster, with Reggie Jackson and Rajon Rondo being the 2 main ball handlers, also up in age as well for the Clippers in the backcourt. And Dosunmu would be able to provide some much-needed bench production as a backup point guard as well for the Clippers. That's where I got LA taking Ayo at number 25. Now at 26 in the draft board, we'll keep it in the backcourt, and that's where I predict the Denver Nuggets to take Jaden Springer, shooting guard from Tennessee at 26. Springer's one of the youngest prospects in the draft. He won't turn the age of 19 until late September. He was the top scorer this past season for the Tennessee Vols. He averaged 12.5 points per game. He plays well through contact, and he can get to the basket. Springer has a solid mid-range jumper. He excelled from 3-point range, shot the ball at 43.5%, and made 81% of his free throws as well. Defensively, he goes after the ball handler, shows a ton of hustle on the court for Jaden Springer. And Denver, that was their downfall in the playoffs, is that their backcourt really struggled post-injury to Jamal Murray. And I feel like the Nuggets here, they do need more backcourt players to develop in the future, and that's where Denver should be able to take a look at Springer and add him to their rotation. And I've got the Nuggets taking Jaden Springer at number 26. And now at 27, going off the board as we are backcourt heavy, continuing at 27, the Brooklyn Nets, I predict, will select Nah'Shon Hyland, Bones, point guard and shooting guard from VCU. As Nah'Shon Bones Hyland, he can go get buckets. He has excellent range as well. And I feel like this type of player here with Hyland, I feel like he will be a draft steal, and he deserves to be in the first round. He is a terrific ISO ball scorer. He's got a great step back jumper, and he carried VCU during what was expected to be a rebuilding season for VCU, which happened to have 4 starters graduate and 1 starter transfer after the 2019-20 season. VCU was expected this past season to be in rebuilding mode, but Hyland took this team to an NCAA tournament berth. Hyland impressed in the NBA Draft Combine scrimmages. He scored a game-high 17 points during his first scrimmage. He hasn't received much attention, though, in the first-round draft boards, and this is due to him playing in a mid-major conference such as the Atlantic 10, along with, unfortunately for Hyland, he did not have the opportunity to play in the NCAA tournament due to COVID-19, and that being because VC was knocked out before they could have the chance to play Oregon in the round of 64. However, Hyland has improved tremendously from freshman year to sophomore year. He averaged just 9 points per game as a freshman. During his sophomore season, Hyland saw an increased role in the offense, and that's where he took his game to plus 10 points per game his sophomore season, averaging 19.5 points per game, and shooting the ball 37% from 3-point range, which isn't bad because of what he was jacking up shots for multiple 30-plus foot jump shots throughout the season by Nah'Shon Hyland for some lethal range in the court. He also improved at the free throw line, shot the ball over 86%. Injuries to James Harden and Kyrie Irving last season showed that the Nets that they do need to happen to find more reliable point guard options that can come off the bench if their stars do happen to miss time for Brooklyn. And that's where I predict the Nets here, number 27, to take Hyland. Now at 28 in the draft board, I'm going to predict another mid-major player will be taken off the draft board with the Philadelphia 76ers, and I predict they will take Charles Bassey, center from Western Kentucky. Bassey, a 6'11" big. He made tremendous strides during his third season for the Hilltoppers. He is a rim-protecting big, and he is an effective low-post scorer as well. He only played 10 points per game during the 2019-20 season due to a knee injury, but he had a spectacular junior season, following it up playing 28 games, leading the Hilltoppers, averaging a double-double of 17.6 points per game, 11.6 rebounds per game, also tallying over 3 blocks per game and shooting the ball at 59% from the floor. And Bassey, one big thing for him is that he was impressive against power conference competition. He tallied 27 points along with 12 rebounds in an upset victory at Alabama. He posted a team-high 15 rebounds against Louisville, and then he kept his team in the Bad Boy Mowers Crossover Classic by scoring 15 points against West Virginia in the Bad Boy Mowers Crossover Classic Championship game, playing only 19 minutes before missing time due to injury. The Sixers need to address their front court depth behind Joel Embiid at the 5, who Embiid has happened to miss 18 games at least during each season in his career. Dwight Howard is the only other big to back up Embiid, so Philly here, I feel like, needs to take a chance on a center like Bassey that can help off the bench, and that's where I got Bassey going to the Sixers at number 28. Now on the draft board at number 29, the Phoenix Suns. And I predict Phoenix to take a point guard here with Miles McBride from the West Virginia Mountaineers. Deuce McBride leading West Virginia, averaging just under 16 points per game to just under 5 assists per game this past season, also generating just under 2 steals per game. He was impressive from distance, shot the ball over 41% from three-point range, and McBride plays with a competitive edge on the court. He is a pesky defender. He can get into passing lanes and force turnovers, and he also played quarterback during high school in Cincinnati. He is tough, he can get to the basket, plays well through contact, and he plays with an inner dog in him for McBride. He can get tough shots off of step backs off of one-on-one matchups. And for the Suns here, it was announced in early June per Bleacher Report that Chris Paul is expected to decline his player option and become a free agent this offseason. With that being said, the Suns will happen to need to address the backcourt and happen to have some more ball handling help in their roster. And that's where I predict Phoenix should take a look at McBride and take him at number 29. Now for the final prospect here to get taken in the first round for the 2021 NBA Draft, I predict that will be Day'Ron Sharpe, center from North Carolina. Sharpe going to Utah, as Sharpe is a 6'11" big man. He played his freshman season at UNC, a powerful big that has his whole game revolve inside the interior. He has the ability to post up on the interior and constantly crash the glass to snag rebounds, and he uses his size well to score second chance points off of tip-ins. Sharpe averaged 9.5 points per game, 7.6 rebounds per game this past season for UNC, averaging just over 19 minutes per game as well. The Jazz ranked last this season in 2-point shot attempts per team in the NBA, and that's where I feel like they should take a look here at a future big man that can provide some more balance with his inside scoring, that he doesn't attempt threes for Day'Ron Sharpe. And I feel like they need to go more inside for the Utah Jazz when the threes aren't dropping. That's where Sharpe, I feel like, has the chance to develop here from the bench behind Rudy Gobert for Utah. And that's where I'm taking Day'Ron Sharpe at number 30. So that's a wrap here to this video. My second part, the NBA first round mock draft for picks number 15 through 30. Also, if you haven't already done so, check out my first part to this video. Picks number 1 through 14 on my NBA mock draft lottery. That video is posted down in the description below this video. Make sure to like, share, comment, subscribe to my channel if you're new. Also, check out my play-by-play live streams for me commentating basketball games when the season starts up again. I would highly recommend you to do so, to check out my play-by-play live streams, as they are awesome, and we have built a terrific community up here. It's been tremendous. Thanks so much for watching, everybody, as this is Behind the Arc Basketball.